Hello everybody and welcome along to the Finding Speed YouTube channel, and welcome to round 2 of the Finding Speed GT3 League Season 2. Of course, we are here at the beautiful Sebring circuit, and we do have the cars out and circulating at the moment. And of course, we were at Watkins Glen last time out, so it's one of those circuits that maybe you don't normally associate to big GTs. Of course, IMSA have been there, and NASCAR and IndyCar have been there throughout the years as well. But Sebring, this is one steeped in history. It really is just an absolute wash with motorsport heritage over the years. Of course, IMSA come here every single year for the 12 Hours of Sebring, and so do the World Endurance Series, the World Endurance Championship, pardon me, for the 1,000 miles of Sebring. So we really do have a treat for us tonight. At the moment, the drivers are out and circulating only for practice, however. But up at the front end of the order is that man there, Mark Fletcher for Altitude Esports. Of course, he won last time out at Watkins Glen. I'll just lower the music down a little bit so we can hear a few of the cars. I will turn the cars up as well. Some of these cars are V10s and big old V8s. When you're at quite the distance, it really is difficult to hear them. So we'll try and zoom them in and get the volume turned up as much as possible. I'm not 100% sure why they're so quiet. I will see whether we have a camera maybe slightly more zoomed in. That's even further away. I think we're going to have to deal with this one and just hope that that they swing by. And there you go. Now we're starting to hear a little bit of noise. I will turn it up yet more. I'll turn it up all as high as I can get it. So at the moment that is as high as we're going to get the engine noise, annoyingly. But Mark Fletcher currently setting the fastest lap in practice, and it's looking rather tame. Everywhere else, nothing major popping up on the times. Of course, we do have to mention, you might spot that new logo up in the top right corner, and that is Aztec Sim Sports, and we do obviously need to mention it. Myself and Russell, of course, Finding Speed, are super excited to announce that the very first sponsor of the GT3 League, and our very first prize sponsor, I should say, of the Finding Speed GT3 League Season 2 is Aztec Sim Sports. As some of you may know, they are a big name in enthusiast PC water cooling, but what you might not know is that they are currently working hard to bring their precision engineering expertise to the realm of sim racing, and please make sure you head over to their website to learn all about their exciting development on the way, which is www.aztecsimsports.com. That's www.aztecsimsports.com. They really have got a great website put together, and if you would like to see, if you'd like to learn more about other little bits, so they're more of a wider scope of their current product range, you can just go on www.aztec.com. So that's just www.aztec.com. So that is where you can find all of their products available for view. They're giving away hundreds of pounds worth of high-end PC water cooling gear and merchandise, so please do make sure you head over to their website. So that is www.aztecsimsports.com and www.aztecsimsport.com. So just those two links are the one you need. The first one is purely for their sim racing ventures, and the other one is just a wider scope of their product range. But alluding back to Watkins Glen just a few weeks ago, of course, Mark Fletcher, he took top honours there. Of course, he won the race, and he won his class, obviously, being one of the pro drivers. Then it's Scott Rister and EJ Nixon, P2 and P3. However, the AM finishes were slightly more spread out. We've got David Gurry sat there. He won the AM class in 9th place last week. Patrick Gannon finished second in 14th place, and Alex Peck finished in 17th, but he did take third in class. So a very good result from himself as the practice session, does draw to an end. The checkered flag is now being shown, and all of the drivers have to return to the pit lane to get ready for their qualifying session. So it is an open qualifying session, I should say. So we will see a few of the drivers maybe trying to get to grips with seeing all the other cars around them in this qualifying session. The man to lead them away and lead them out of the pit lane is Stijn van Nijlen for Ignium Motorsport. He leaves the pit lane in that number 10 BMW. And that's a great livery on that car. I really do like it. We've seen it in so many other series as well, but it really does fit that that BMW very, very nicely. Who have we got in the background? People to keep an eye on. Sorry about the little bit of blinking there. I think that might have been on my end. We'll go back to Scott Rister, of course. He finished second last time out at Watkins Glen in that McLaren. Oh, sorry, in the Mercedes, pardon me. The McLaren's behind him. But yeah, I think that's either Braden Coates. No, it is Alex Crater, just slightly further up. And that's something I've just noticed. Of course, those two Lux Sim 24 esports cars have left the pit lane at the same time. So maybe trying to work together here as we head deeper into the 20-minute qualifying session. But Scott Rister in that Mercedes, going barreling by sideways through there was Braden Coates. But for the moment, it's just down to finding that clean piece of tarmac, finding plenty of free air to roam into, and then as soon as you can get in there, you can start focusing on getting these laps made. And if you can do so at a rapid rate of knots, you will be very, very happy, and you'll sit yourself pretty for the 1-hour race on the way. Team Upstate are sporting their new livery tonight, so let's have a look at Aris Papadopoulos. And you can see there, very trying to think of the word now. Functional livery, yes, not simplistic, very functional. Does everything that it needs to do. It's just the team name, and I really do like that on a car when it is, yeah, very functional. Who else have we got for team ups there? We've got Timothy Bright, sat there in his BMW with the bright green flashes as he goes down the back straight now, heading towards Sunset, and then on towards what will be his first flying lap of the qualifying session. We'll have a little further. We'll have a little look a little further up the road. There is Stephen Mello for Vulcan Sim Racing Academy. Through the final corner he goes. Careful not to touch that grass. And then on to this start-finish straight we go. It seems very, very quiet. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put you on a very quick splash screen. I am sorry, but I'll get the splash screen on, and I'll do my best to try and turn it up, because of course you don't just want to watch these cars, you want to listen to them as well. They really do sound amazing. So I will do my best to try and get that turned up. I'll be back with you in just a few moments' time. There you go. As you can hear, they are much louder now, much more, so I'm sure you're liking as well as mine. At least we can hear the action a little bit more now as well. Igor Bembic has taken to the circuit for, well, he's taken to the grass, has Igor, in the 129 machine. He does continue going again, and that is one of the Audis screaming by in the background. Lovely sounding, that V10, producing around about 570, 580 brake horsepower. So an incredibly quick piece of kit, and sounding good while doing so. It was Mark Fletcher. You can see right there, of course, round one winner, and naturally the championship leader, of course, from that. Through the penultimate corner we go. Set yourself up, use all the road on the entry. Now we're starting to get some times posted. Currently have Braden Coates sitting on provisional pole position. I'll take that back. That's Tom Dadswell now up there, and there's going to be a hell of a lot of chopping and changing as the race goes on. As the qualifying session goes on. So you can see there just the gaps on the left-hand side of your screen between what the drivers have posted, and I will rattle through those shortly. And of course we will swap from not just that gap but to the best lap, so you can see exactly what times have been posted. And look at that, Mark Fletcher. We'd expect nothing less, but I'm sure he was flat to the boards, and he's not really as clear as he would like. Only 3.5 hundredths clear of Tom Dadswell, so not 100% sure whether he is happy with that. But of course Tom getting caught out at Watkins Glen, up through turns 2, 3 and 4. We saw quite a large incident, and that did include Tom Dadswell, so let's hope he can really bring it to his teammate and see what he can do about making it a podium here at Sebring a couple of weeks later than what he would have liked. Who else have we got out on circuit and turning laps? At the moment, it's looking like Braden Coates is on a fairly good lap. He's had a purple sector 1, personal best sector 2, personal best sector 5. We're just heading into sector 6 and 7 on the way now. But he does have a bit of traffic in front of him. That is Scott Rister in the Mercedes. And then you've got the Ignium Motorsport BMW of Stein van Nylen. And a little bit further up the road, he does eventually then get to his teammate of Alex Crater in the number 91 machine. Through the final corner we go once again. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen the real raft of times being posted. At the moment, the top 15, or sorry, top 13, separated by about a second. You could almost push that to top 12, and then you drop down to the top 21, separated by 2 seconds. Pardon me. Purple sector set for Drew Becker in the Lunatic Racing Lamborghini, the number 15 machine. Very shiny livery on that. I think he actually won 5 iRacing dollars for that on the Prelude race at Laguna Seca. Through Tower we go, and look at that, Mark Fletcher. He does improve upon his time, not by a major amount, but he does improve. A 1:59.323 posted, so he's almost doubled the gap to from what it was. But there is Tom Dadswell in. Through the hairpin we go. A little bit of a blink there from Tom. As soon as we look at Tom, it seems like that's when we pick up the blink. So annoyingly, we might not see major amounts of Tom throughout the night. Alex Crater sat there in provisional P3 at the moment, behind the wheel of his Luxim 24 Esports McLaren MP412C. That car producing just shy of 500 horsepower. Big old 3.8 litre V8 twin turbo powers that car around this Sebring circuit. And it really does sound amazing when it goes tearing past the camera. Great stuff from him. We'll see who else we've got out. We've got the two virtual racing compound drivers, P14 and 15. Nick McLaughlin, the lead of the pair of them. So the Canadian in the number 62 machine, doing everything he needs to do just to keep Pete Plastow behind. Here comes Pete. So Plastow on the way, crosses the line now. Does he improve upon his time? More importantly, does he improve upon his position? No time set that time through. So clearly an off track for somewhere around there for Mr. Plastow. But he does continue on without any further issues. We still do have Drew Becker going quicker and quicker and quicker. Last time through, he set that purple sector. He's currently sat in provisional P9 with a 2 minutes .12. We've got a purple sector set now by Chris Tapio in his RPM Racing Lamborghini. So he's really started to open the taps and get that car shifting towards the top end of the order. Let's see what he can do as he gets closer and closer to the end of the lap, and see whether he can yet further improve upon his position. And you can see through sunset we go now. He's just trying to keep that car nice and balanced through the bumpy final corner. And now charging towards the line now. Does he improve upon his time? Currently 4.5 tenths away from our leader, Mark Fletcher, or our provisional pole sitter. Chris Tapio crosses the line now, and once again another driver that doesn't improve upon his time. Doesn't even set one that time through, so possibly another off track around the course. Drew Becker improves upon his time, a 1:59.605, keeps him in P3 provisional. Mark Fletcher on pit exit, Tom Dadswell on an outlap. So both the altitude guys up at the front looking for yet further improvements. And now, as we head through and past the halfway point in this session, my timing screen is an absolute flood of green, so lots of drivers setting lots of personal best. Pete Plastow improving upon his time but not improving upon his position. In 16th place, somebody that does improve upon his position is Braden Coates, up into provisional P7 in that Luxim 24 Esports McLaren. He does return to the pit lane. Scott Rister's on a quick lap. Does he improve? He does improve, a 1:59.755 posted. Same with Alex Crater, yet further improvement. I think Scott Rister might have just grabbed the wall there. Alex Crater flashing his lights, letting the car in front now that he is on a fast lap. Stein van Nijlen not really making any improvements as the session wears on. Pete Plastow decided that that is going to be the end of his session. Benjamin Warburton, what does he do? He is heading down towards the final corner, and can he improve upon his time at the moment? Of course, Russell Barnes, Finding Speed himself, he isn't going to take to the circuit. He's going to start at the back of the grid every single race throughout this season, possibly bar 1 or 2. But as far as I'm aware, he's going to start at the back. And Benjamin Warburton, provisional P10, a 2:02.67. Mark Fletcher still up there with Tom Dadswell, but Chris Tapio does improve, a 1:59.539. That puts him right the way up into P3, 3 tenths adrift of the pole sitter at the moment. So still a bit of time to find, and still plenty of time out there to make up. Let's have another check in on Igor Bembik, see how he's getting on. He is doing everything he needs to. Dan Ocaranza for Nitro Racing Team. He is out and circulating. We'll have a look to see what's going on a little further down the order. We've got Todd Bosworth, one of the privateer entries, on a slow lap by the looks of that. EJ Nixon finished P3 last time out at Watkins Glen. I'm not sure whether that's just the sound of the car or he is just trying to slow down and get some clean air. By the sounds of it, that was what he's doing. Now it sounds a bit more upbeat. It really does sound like he's putting everything into that McLaren. And heading towards the final corner now. Alex Crater improves upon his time at 1:59.551. And then through the final corner, EJ Nixon, he will go on to a flying lap. No, he won't. He will go left and right, and then left again, and then into the barrier he goes. Scott Kimbrough, Scott Kimbrough, I should say, does improve upon his time. A 1:59.591 posted, and does end up collecting one of the Luxem 24 esports cars, and it was Alex Crater, who's now buried in the barrier. I have no idea really what happened there. I think maybe just slightly misread. Alex Crater had already run wide, and then he just rejoined the circuit for me, right in front of the Audi of Scott Kimbrough. No, Kimbrough, I should say. And now we're getting to the point in the qualifying session where everybody's got their banker lap in. They have possibly got a slightly quicker one in upon that. And now it's just all about what they decide to do. Do they want to go out and give it another go, or are they happy sitting where they are, or what are they going to do? There's so many little things that the drivers have got to think about. And David Bush, I was going to say he's going to do a practice pit entry, but no, he's just going to take a couple of cones with him and then return to the pit lane. Somebody setting fastest or a purple sector 4 last time through was, of course, Scott Kimbrough. But sadly making contact with the tail end of Alex Crater, and look at that, Mark Fletcher, he's going quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. A 1:59.212 posted lap last time through, and that is set him almost 2/10 clear of Tom Dadswell. Sorry about the little flash there, whether the frames will pick themselves up once again. I'm sorry about that. Just a slight little blink in and out. Let's hope that that does subside as the race wears on. There's a few little bits I'm going to try to do to fix that. And we'll give that a go. There's just a couple of things running in the background, I think. But for the moment, let's have a look at Chris Tapio, a purple sector 5. And we'll see whether he improves upon his time yet further. The back straight now through the penultimate corner. It's all about setting up that penultimate corner for the back straight, and if you can do that properly, then you will carry plenty of speed into sunrise, or sunset I should say. And if you do get sunset correctly, it'll give you a great slingshot onto that that start finish straight, bouncing his way over the bumpy surface here at Sebring. Of course, with it being an ex-airfield, they never really bothered about making the tarmac super smooth. And it's one of the just one of the characteristics of this Sebring circuit. Chris Tapio not setting a time last time through, so in that way not improving. Alex Crater, what can he do? Can he improve upon his time? Crosses the line now, and no, he cannot. He does not improve and still stays in P5. Who else have we got out? Ted Bradbury for Delta Sport U4K. Heading through Sector 2 now. Chasing down one of the VSR cars. That will be Stephen Mello. It's very much a race in qualifying as well, because everybody races out of the pit lane to get that clean air, but then everybody is racing each other to try and stick in that draft, but also not get held up. So many different little aspects of the race that these drivers have to think about. Stephen Brookfield improves upon his time and his position up into provisional P10 now. Is Stephen. and the Centurion Racing Team BMW. I'll have a little look elsewhere to see how people are getting on. Andreas Helgrud is sat waiting for a clean piece of track to head out and see what he can do about improving his time. So too is Colin McKenzie in the Lunatic Racing number 113 Ferrari. One of the drivers to not set a lap as of yet. Neither is EJ Nixon. Of course, with him having that incident earlier on. And he does set a time that time through. Puts him in P17 provisionally in the number 7 machine. But of course, you've got to think he was P3 at the end of what can just maybe over pushing, slightly over driving that car. And if he plays his cards right, he might just get enough time for another lap. And no, I think that is going to bring an end to his qualifying session. So 17th place is what he's going to have to settle for. Dominic Linden for Centurion Racing Team. Under the bridge we go. Another little bit of a blink there. I am sorry, I'm not sure why it is doing that. I will try and fix that if I can. Who else do we have? We've got Juan Manuel Calaya up in provisional P12, number 5 machine, for Nitro Racing Team. He isn't setting the world alight with his laps, but he is definitely fairly competitive while doing so. And decides maybe that time isn't the time for him, and he isn't going to improve upon his time. I want to have a look at Steve Mallow. Set a personal best Sector 1 and Sector 2, so he really is looking for these improvements. Looking to improve upon not just his time, but also his position, more importantly. So we'll see what he can manage. Onto the back straight we go. And down towards Sunset. We'll see whether he can nail this corner. Of course, a very, very tricky corner. You don't want to get eased in too early to then turn in and collect that wall. Nice and easy through there, nice and balanced. No major stress being put on the car. Through the final corner we go. And then onto the start-finish straight, crossing the line now. He does improve upon his time, and my God, does he improve upon his position up into provisional P11 with a 2:54 posted. So a very good lap from the number 79 VSR-A machine. Here is David Bush for Lunatic Racing, the number 54 Lamborghini. You can hear the car popping and banging on. The same drivetrain as that Audi. So let's see what he can do driving towards the line now. You can hear it right up at the top of his rev range. Crosses the line now. Does he improve upon his time? No, he does not. Nick McLaughlin still out and circulating, the Canadian. Let's see what he can do. Can he improve upon his times set so far? No, he cannot. Not while doing that. He definitely won't be able to. So rattling over the grass goes Nick, and that will slightly dent his chances of improving upon his time. Here is Juan Manuel Calaya. Not too far to go now until the end of the lap, so we'll see whether he can improve upon his time. And if he can, by how much, and if he does improve upon his time, does that mean position change along the way? No, it does not. Once again, pulling over to the right-hand side of the circuit, deciding that time isn't the time for him. Here comes Ted Bradbury, that absolutely beautiful sounding V10 Audi R8. Through the final corner we go, bouncing over the rough surface. 400 pound-foot of torque, goes charging towards the line. Crosses the line now. Does he improve upon his time? No, he does not. A 2.830, I believe, will be the last time posted in this qualifying session. So what we'll do, we will get the music in the background, and I'm sure in a few moments' time, the grid will be made available to us. All we have to do is wait for the session to swap over. Well, what do you think of that? Round 2 here at Sebring, and it's only going to get closer as the season wears on. Let me know who you're rooting for in the chat. If you've got somebody, or a favourite driver, or be a favourite team, anything like that. Yeah, just make sure you do let me know in the chat. I'll make sure they can get some airtime as well. And of course, a massive thank you to Aztec Sim Sports, one of the series sponsors. Make sure you head over to their various websites. The link has been posted in chat, and that's all the various bits they are doing with sim racing, and they tend to put most of their attentions on enthusiast PC watercooling, but they are heading into sim racing. Make sure you keep up to date with what is going on in that department. But we do now have the grid available to us. So there you go. Mark Fletcher puts the car on pole position, a 159.212 posted, with Tom Dadswell alongside, and it's Chris Tapio. I will get some of the cars in the background so you can see them sat there on the grid. Chris Tapio in third, Scott Kimbrough fourth, Alex Crater has got Drew Becker for company on row 3, then it's Ted Bradbury and Scott Rister make up row 4, Braden Coates and Stephen Brumfield round out your top 10, then it's Stephen Mello, Benjamin Warburton, P11 and P12, we'll go down another few rows, and we've got Juan Manuel Calea, Stein van Nylen, David Bush, David Gowrie, Nick McLaughlin, EJ Nixon, Patrick Gannon, Pete Plasto, John Dinkle, Richard Jones, Timothy Bry, Graham Bardsley, and then we've got Simon Chester in 25th, Brad Crouch 26th, Igor Bembick, Luke Davis, Kansas Gentry, Alex Peck, Aris Papadopoulos, Colin McKenzie, and it's Todd Bosworth, Andreas Holgerud, Dan Ocaranza, and Nicholas Matthews 35th and 36th, and then just 2 more to go. Dominic Linden rounds out the drivers that set a time, 4.9 seconds off, so very much just a banker lap set for Dominic, right the way down in 37th, and as per the usual, we have Russell Barnes at the bottom of the table, starting at the tail end of the order in 38th place. And you can see the cars sat eager to get going. Can we get... Oh, there is the safety car. So are we going to have a standing start here today? I do believe we are, unless the safety car is going to take to the grid. No, I do believe we are going to have a standing start. So away we go. It's only a green flag. Everybody's going incredibly slowly. No safety car to be seen. And for me, if the green flag flies and there's no safety car, I would be going. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure what has happened there. So no safety car, so we are just going to go on this little warm-up lap with Mark Fletcher. Unusual not to see the safety car out and leading the pack. But very well communicated with everybody, just taking it nice and easy. And it is counting as lap 1. Normally if there is a safety car or a mandatory warm-up lap, it would be lap 0. We are on lap 1, so this will count as a racing lap when it comes to the results. But Mark Fletcher is going to be leading thousands of horsepower around this 3.74 mile or 6 kilometre circuit, so through 17 turns. Mark Fletcher is the man in charge of them all. He can sit there and control their speed, control their various little bits throughout the corner. Down towards the hairpin we go. Let's hope that everybody works through here nice and easy, nice and cleanly, of course. The last thing you want to do is get damage only on the warm-up lap. And it looks like it stays fairly clean in the background, which is always nice to see. And it's now just down to when Mark Fletcher wants to go. I'm sure heading into sunset he's going to be, or even before that, he's going to be thinking, where do I go? Do I sit there and try and back my queue up and see what I can do about getting Dadswell up? So of course the pair of them being teammates at Altitude Esports. And that was the plan. That was the plan last week, Mark Fletcher and Tom Dadswell to escape into the distance, but annoyingly it didn't quite happen. Of course we found that out in the interview with Mark Fletcher, It is an agreed pace lap, so Stuart Pearson in the chat just saying, yeah, that there isn't going to be the safety car, it's just going to be the drivers modulating that pace lap and letting Mark Fletcher control the lot of them. You can see the Audis and the Lamborghinis with the lights ablaze, BMW's following suit. I think the McLaren is one of the only cars that doesn't actually have its lights on until it is night time, whereas everybody else seems to just have their lights on pretty much constantly. You can see the Lamborghini with little rear-facing lights as well. Unlike the Audi, it does already have them lit up. Some Lamborghinis, you can see, do have the extra little lights in the middle. I say little; they are incredibly bright. It's like someone's put a collapsed sun in the front of those Lamborghinis. Now heading towards the final corner, ladies and gentlemen. Round 2 of the Finding Speed GT3 League Season 2 is about to get underway here from Sebring. Mark Fletcher is the lead car, the one with the green flashes. He does put his foot to the floor now and put his foot to the floor now, and it's Mark Fletcher who leads them away. We do go green here at Sebring. Tom Dadswell tries to follow along. He does have the attentions of Chris Tapio. It looks like it's going to stay fairly clean in the background. No major incidents for anybody. We'll have a little look back as we work our way through turn 1. That's a very busy turn 1 indeed. But it looks like everybody is continuing on. Back up to the front we go, though. It is Mark Fletcher leading them away. The Altitude Esports car with the green flashes. Tom Dadswell, the sister car, with the orange flashes. And the pair of them trying to escape into the distance and build that gap over Chris Tapio. He does have Scott Kimbrough out for company. Scott having a little look up the inside, but then having to defend from Ted Bradbury in the Delta U4K Audi. Alex Prater sat there in 6th place. It's Stephen Mello under pressure now from Drew Becker, heading up towards this very heavy braking zone. Which one of them is going to be the later of the pair? They're still side by side. Stephen Mello, I think he might have just squeezed Becker towards the apex, and that has now made sure he has secured that position, but he does have quite the train forming behind him, so it makes me think that he is the cork in the bottle. Harris Papadopoulos has not had the greatest of starts. Let's see what has happened to himself. He is pointing back because I think he might have been collected there or helped round by Kansas Gentry in the 211 machine. But they are continuing on without too much of an issue. Here is Russell Barnes trying to size up his opposition, of course, starting at the back. And look at that, has a little look around the outside, goes for the conservative approach, decides that time is not the time to go for it because he knows he's got this big long straight on the way. And even after that, once he's gone through Sunset, he's got the start-finish straight to help with his overtaking efforts. Jinx out towards the right-hand side, decides maybe no, this time is not going to be the time for it. In towards Sunset we go. Is he going to be later on the brakes? No, that time through, just bouncing through the curbs. And there's a car pointing backwards. That's one of the lunatic cars. That's Drew Becker pointing the wrong way. And I think Scott Rister, who else was caught up in that? That was Kansas Gentry, possibly. We do have a car peeling its way off into the pit lane. So it's all come and done for a few of the drivers. That's Don Ocaranza has returned to the pit lane. So has Scott Rister. So has Todd Bosworth. So a lot of the drivers not having the greatest of starts. Simon Chester trying to carve his way up through the order. Look how congested this section of the circuit is. Simon Chester in the Scooby-Doo Lamborghini, number 169, trying to get past Luke Davis. You can see Russell Barnes in the background under pressure, trying to overtake while also nearly being overtaken by, who was that? I think that was Alex Peck, trying to work his way through. And Russell Barnes, even after all of that, he does manage to work his way in front of the Lunatic Racing entry 113 of Colin McKenzie. Now does set his sights on Simon Chester. Up the road from him is Luke Davis, then Eagle Bumbick and Brett Crouch. Going to have to look right up towards the front there, because here is Chris Tapio under pressure, almost contact between himself and Scott Kimbrough. Scott Kimbrough, Ted Bradbury does manage to reap the rewards from that. So does Alex Crater. A big look up the inside on towards that back straight, and it looks like that McLaren might have the legs on the way out, but it's now down to what the draft does, because Ted Bradbury will be giving that draft to Scott Kimbrough. And look at this, it's somewhat 5-6 for the lead now, and they have got a huge gap, 5-second gap to Stephen Brumfield for Centurion Racing Team. So the lead is very much left to their own devices. Look at this now in the background. This is Ted Bradbury under pressure from Chris Tapio. Ted, of course, only just getting past Scott Kimbrough, and he's managed to get up into the podium places. So the number 53 machine for Delta U4K has worked his way up into third place. Chris Tapio setting the fastest lap, or fastest sector 1, 2, 3 and 7. Is now in fourth place, under pressure from losing another and being demoted down into fifth, because Alex Crater is on an absolute mission. Speaking of on a mission, Russell Barnes still continuing to work his way up through the order. Up the inside of Luke Davis he goes. And now the next target for him will be Igor Bembik. We saw Igor struggle in practice. Didn't see that much of him in qualifying. But he is now, yes, that was very late on the brakes. And that was Brack Crouch that got collected in that one. Brack pointing backwards, the 118 machine. Picking up a few cones, helped around by Luke David, or by Igor Bembik, I should say. And now Russell Barnes working his way up the inside later on the brakes, and easy position made for himself. Next target for him will be Graham Bardsley in that newly liveried Team Upstate BMW. Back up to the front we go though, and these two Altitude Esports guys have really got the bit between their teeth now, because it's Mark Fletcher leading Tom Dadswell. So the top two remaining as they are. Maybe with a slowdown is Mark Fletcher, or not wanting to give any draft to his teammate. But they are 2 seconds clear. Look at that in the background now. Chris Tapio being edged out wide. Alex Crater up the inside. Ted Bradbury trying to follow as well. Oh, sorry, that's Scott Kimbrough trying to follow as well. Scott Kimbrough does work his way up into fifth place. Chris Tapio has gone from, what, third to sixth in the space of 2 laps. So it's all coming undone for himself. There is Scott Kimbrough. Another little bit of a blink there. I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not skipping any frames. It just seems that my connection to the iRacing server itself isn't 100%. So please do accept my apologies for that one. A little further back here is Stein van Nylen, Frignium Motorsport, piling the pressure on Pete Plasto. While Pete has a big look up the inside, side by side now with David Gowrie. And there you go, position made. That is Pete up into P15. So the pro driver does yet further improve. And now heading towards the hairpin, all becomes congested once again, and we'll just change that font up at the top. So that is definitely not the easiest to read, so I am sorry about that. But for the moment, it's looking fairly tame everywhere we look. Very much a one-way affair. We'll have another look back at this battle. Look at that there. That was Patrick Gannon just squeezing his way in between Richard Jones and Stein van Nylen. Russell Barnes part of this little battle as well now. So we're starting to see the drivers work their way into their various positions and where they want to stay. And of course, while everybody is trying to go forwards, a few of the cars haven't really got much of a choice but to go backwards. So you've got to bear that in mind for some of the drivers as well. See everybody snaking around on that back straight, trying to pick up the most amount of draft possible. And if that means you've got to follow the car in front literally to the millimetre, so be it. That seems to be the way to go. Closest cars we've got on circuit are this BMW pairing here. David Gowrie and Stein van Nylen, Centurion Racing Team versus Ignia Motorsport. Ignia Motorsport on the inside now Stein is trying to work his way up the inside and does so successfully. That does leave the door open for the Audi of Patrick Gannon, but not quite hot enough to get his way through at the same time. Russell Barnes up 18 places now, up into 20th. So, yet further improving upon his position. We've had an incident for Andreas Helgrud. Oh, he's just over-rotated the car through turn 1. Does he keep it out the barrier? No, the momentum carries him into the concrete, and he does find reverse. He'll never get it out of there without hitting the wall again. And yeah, has to grab reverse once again. Then gets first and gets back going again, hopefully with not too much damage on that car. We will have a little look at Andreas. See how he's getting on. No, that car does look fairly clean to me. Doesn't look like that's got any long-lasting damage, if any. Back up to this battle though. Here is David Gowrie. Of course, he lost out to Stein van Meilen on, or at the start of this lap at turn 1. He's now set his sights, has Stein van Meilen on Pete Plasto. While all this is going on, in the rearview mirror is David Gowrie trying to defend from Patrick Gannon. Back up to the front we go though. Look at that now. That's Alex Crater doing everything he can to fend off the attentions of Scott Kimbrough. Fastest lap of the race posted that time through for Tom Dadswell, a 1:59.911. That would have stood him in good stead in qualifying, let alone the race. So great stuff for himself and Luxem 24 Esports. Juan Manuel Calleja and David Bush have had an incident. Let's hope that it's not related. They were at a slightly different section of the circuit, so let's hope that they are not. Let's see what happened to David Bush first. Then it all goes wrong. That's in front of one of the VRC machines. I think that was Nick McLaughlin. And yeah, they were related. Juan Manuel Calleja gets elbowed towards the barrier. I don't want to get that slowed down as soon as we get into it. It looks like the BMW on the inside just picks up the Lamborghini of David Bush. The BMW, of course, being Juan Manuel Calleja. Then bouncing over the tarmac we go. We'll try and find Nick McLaughlin. Was it Nick? It was indeed. Managing to work his way through, and it was the Ignium Motorsport Lamborghini of John Dinkle that also worked his way through that calamity as well. Alex Crater now still sat there in 4th place, the number 191 machine. Sitting fairly comfortable as it is, a quarter of the race gone already. Heading on towards the 8th lap now, next time we cross the line. And Russell Barnes is climbing further and further up my timing screen. He's now sat in 17th place and chasing down 16th place driver, second in class at the moment, Patrick Gannon. Of course, this little battle here is for not overall position, well, it is for overall position, but not only that, it is for position in class as well. It is for the class lead. Patrick Gannon in the Audi has a little look to the inside, deciding whether he's going to go for it this time into Sunset, and he does get gifted the room if he needs it. David Gowrie trying to carry the superior momentum around the outside. Can he do so successfully? Possibly, but there is Russell Barnes there to pick up the pieces if it all goes wrong. 2 positions is what Russell is after. Can do them both in the same corner, that would be very much ideal. But now look, up the inside he goes and does work his way up into 16th place respectively. There's 22 positions gained for number 15 Ferrari, and he's only going to go further and further up the road. Todd Bosworth has had an incident, a privateer entry, the 128, and a slightly different line through there, maybe distracted. Does grab the grass, and then there's no stopping that, hard into the tyre barrier, and I do fear that that car is stuck. No, iRacing decides, well, you may be stuck in it for a short while, I'm going to kick you out, and then throws the car towards the track, and Todd Bosworth can continue on. Cantus Gentry has had a bit of a moment. Let's see what has happened to Cantus. He's already had an incident by that point, so let's see what happened here. It seems like he's had multiple incidents actually, so let's see. Through the penultimate corner we go, just touched that gravel and into the tyre barrier he goes. Make sure he grabs the brakes, gets out of the way as quickly as possible. Great sportsmanship driving from him, and he does return to the pit lane. Here is Stephen Brumfield and Braden Coates sparring away for 7th place overall, 7th place in class of course. Now, as we head towards the final corner, what is Braden Coates going to do? Has a big look up the inside, but he's going to have to work for that move and does grab the apex. Can he carry that superior momentum on to the start-finish straight? Is McLaren versus BMW, and what can the BMW do in response to Braden Coates? The pair of them do remain in the same order this time by. We'll see whether that makes any difference. Braden Coates almost collecting the tail end there of Brumfield. No, that is not what I wanted to do. I am sorry about that. It's not quite what I wanted it to look like. We will change that back. I am sorry about that. But yeah, for the moment, it looks like it's staying fairly safe here at this stage in the race. And we'll change the font of the driver numbers, because of course they are somewhat difficult to see. Just change them to the font that should make them slightly larger. There we go. We can now see them. Whether that is preferred, I don't know. You know what? Just put that to the way. But back up towards the front, we've got Alex Crater and Scott Kimbrough still battling away. Alex Crater, the lead McLaren, is also not too far away from Ted Bradbury. 4 seconds up the road, though, is Mark Fletcher and Tom Dadswell, the Altitude Esports cars. This week, sadly, or luckily, no such luck has befallen Tom Dadswell. Sadly for the other drivers, I'm sure, but he does continue on in 2nd place, does the number 38 machine. So at the moment, the podium is taken up fully by Audis and fully by British drivers. And in doing so, it really does show that these Audis really do have something else around this circuit. Stijn van Nijlen has had an incident. Let's see what has happened to Stijn in his Lamborghini. He gets punted by the number 31 machine. That's Pete Plasto. Let's see what happened again. So in towards the corner. Yeah, I think he just gets slightly scared by the RPM Racing Ferrari of Benjamin Warburton. Jumps on the brakes heavier than what Pete was expecting, and then there's nothing really Pete can do at that point. He can't brake any harder. He's already got his foot to the floor trying to get that car slowed down, and then yeah, left with not really anywhere to go. Back to Stephen Brumfield though, still under pressure from Braden Coates, and he's only getting closer and closer and closer. Here is Russell Barnes chasing down Benjamin Warburton in the RPM Racing Ferrari. 2 tenths separating the pair of them. Russell is in 12th place now, looking to make it 11th of 26 places. Once again, looking to make it 27. On the brakes, is he later? He is indeed. Can he keep that position secured? No, not that time through. He gives it a go, but can't quite keep that position. He does look once again to the inside and towards Tower Corner, and using all the curb, Russell Barnes is in front just about though. Now we're heading to the very quick double left-hander, and Russell Barnes is in front this time, so it's now what, 5 Ferraris spacing between P10 and P14. So Nick McLaughlin here, and it's Russell Barnes, Benjamin Warburton, Pete Plasto and Richard Jones. And we have the Centurion Racing Team BMW of David Gowrie leading the AM class as it stands, still with Patrick Gannon not too far back, trying to take the lead off David. closest cars we've got on circuit, funnily enough, are the ones we're looking at the moment. And they are incredibly close. I tell a lie, look at this up the road now. This is Pete Plasto trying to work his way past Benjamin Warburton in towards turn 1. Pete is shown the outside. That's the long way around. He does try to make it work, and if he can carry that momentum, that is going to be a great move. He's going to be shown the outside once again for turn 2. Later on the brakes is Pete. We'll get the inside for a short moment, then it will evolve to the outside again. And you can't tell me Pete hasn't tried that one. Wow, what commitment through there. He really threw everything he had at that, but of course now all that time he spent battling, that has inadvertently put him into the clutches of Richard Jones, who now looks to the inside. Later on the brakes, is he going to get that slowed down? No, he is not. Onto the grass he goes, and the privateer entry, the number 99 machine, sat there now rejoining the circuit in 17th place. I think the only thing damaged with that was his ego. Up towards the front we go. Ted Bradbury and Alex Crater still battling away for the final spot on the podium. The number 53 machine still there or thereabouts for Delta U4K. In the background though, you can see it's just getting closer and closer and closer and closer. David Gowrie and Stephen Mello having a little bit of a battle. Look at this train of cars. We do have Pete Plasto sat there hanging on to the coattails of Richard Jones. I think Pete might have had an incident actually, because he was up there with Russell Barnes and Benjamin Warburton. So let's see what happened here. That's a big old lunge up the inside. I think that may have slightly scared Pete. He might have missed his braking zone. Very easy to do when you're in a train of cars, and that leaves him down here under pressure from Juan Manuel Calleja at the same time. Timothy Bry now in the Team Upstate BMW, trying to get past Stein van Nylen. Gave it a good go in towards the final corner, decides he's going to compromise his line on the way in, maybe to get the cutback. And this time through, it does not go the way as planned. You can see back up here, this battle for the final spot on the podium is getting closer. So is the battle between Braden Coates and Stephen Brumfield. Braden, a big look up to the inside now. Can he get that car slowed down later on the brakes in towards the hairpin, and position made for Braden Coates. And nothing much, really, Stephen Brumfield can do to defend from that. It was a very committed move from Braden. Very concise as well. More than happy to jump later on the brakes to make sure he can get that position made. And like I say, the American up into 7th place now for Luxim 24 Esports. His teammate up the road got his hands full trying to keep up with Ted Bradbury. Alex Crater just about losing touch now with him. Here is Stephen Mello under pressure from David Gowrie. Pete Plasto still chasing down Richard Jones. We'll have a little look further down the order. Here is Scott Rister, of course, one of the drivers to round out the podium at Watkins Glen, not just in class but overall, finishing P3. There's a big look up the inside now. Is he going to get that car slowed down later on the brakes? Uses a bit of the curb, and position made. That Mercedes thundering its way around there, 500 horsepower being strangled out of that V8 engine, and he does go thundering by, up into 25th place. That was Alex Peck that lost that position. Side by side though is Luke Davis and Timothy Bry. Luke Davis on the left hand side of your screen, Timothy Bry on the right, and Luke maybe slightly more conservative on the brakes, deciding maybe this isn't the time for it. Timothy Bry, I think he does just about keep that position. He does indeed. He does have his teammate at Team Upstate. So there is Timothy Bry, his teammate. Graham Bardsley sat there in 22nd place. Timothy is sat there in 20th, so they can almost sandwich him at the moment. So Luke Davis is the meat in the Team Upstate sandwich. Alex Crater and Ted Bradbury still battling away, and almost half of the race gone now, still with the strategy to play. Of course, the drivers do need to make a pit stop. They've got to decide when they are going to do so. Nicholas Matthews has had an incident. Let's see what has happened here. Through the final corner, and that's going to hit the barrier very hard. And that lunatic racing Lamborghini, with a very poorly sounding engine, continues on. Doesn't pull into the pit lane. That was incredibly loud. I wasn't expecting it to be quite that loud as we rode on board. But yeah, that car is indeed crabbing. Not 100% sure why Nicholas has decided to continue on. That's almost unsafe. And there you go. Yeah, I would expect nothing less with a car that looks as damaged as that. So had another few off-tracky moments along his travels. There is Timothy, and he is still continuing on to drag that car around, and there you go. That is just the danger. If he had a car alongside him, he would be taking himself and another car out at that point. So I think he should have gone to the pit lane at the very least, if not just towed from where he was. Here is Juan Manuel Calleja looking to the outside, or to the what will become the inside of Sunset, and there you go. Juan Manuel up into 17th place now, 15th in class. This is up to Benjamin Warburton, under pressure from Stephen Mello. This is not just a battle overall, this is a battle in class as well, for 12th place respectively. Braden Coates has gone off the road. I saw him dropping down the order. What has happened? Oh, big hit in the wall. Something had already started that. Let's see what happens. So through turn one we go. Does he touch the gravel? Flicks one way, flicks the other, and then hard into the Armco. And rattling over the grass. Does he get that car slowed down? Pitches it sideways in a desperate attempt, but no, he does not. In towards the barrier he went. So it was going so well for Braden, and it's just all come undone in the space of one corner. So unlucky for him. Here is Stephen Mello, 2/10 back from Benjamin Warburton. Now heading in towards the tight right-hander. And it's a very quick left and then towards Tower Bend. And it looks like Benjamin Warburton, with some very impressive defending, does manage to keep that position around the outside. Almost caught out there was Stephen Mello on the brakes, but he does continue on. Alex Crater and Ted Bradbury have slowly started to open up. I think that's because Ted Bradbury's attentions are now focused on Scott Kimbrough in the Empire Racing number 17 machine. Up to the front, it's a 2-second gap. There is Tom Dadswell, there is his teammate Mark Fletcher. So the pair of them have separated a little further than what we last saw. Closest cars we have on circuit, Stephen Mello and Benjamin Warburton, funnily enough. And I'm just having a look. We'll get the gain up on the left-hand side of your screen so you can see which driver has gained what. By far, the biggest mover in the field is Russell Barnes, Mr. Finding Speed himself, up 28 places. And now we're seeing a few of the drivers play their hand and go into the pit lane, make sure they can get their fuel for the end of the race. We have ticked over the halfway mark now, so they are 1,000,000% sure that they can make it to the end. And in doing so, if they've gone to the pit lane early, it may give them a chance just to cool down, get out into some clean air and see what they can do about making some inroads on the almost overlap on the overcut. In theory, actually, will have been the undercut, won't it? Because they have pitted first, so a lot of the drivers going for the undercut strategy. You can see that the top 18 still out. Braden Coates, Benjamin Warburton, Patrick Gannon, Pete Plasto, Luke Davis, Timothy Bry and Aris Papadopoulos, just to name a few of the drivers that have been into the pit lane. That does now include Igor Bembik. Of course, we saw Igor have a little incident at the start, so he didn't pit on strategy. He did pit due to damage, and he won't be able to get to the end, I do not think, on the fuel that he gained during that pit stop. Here is Stein van Nylen, under pressure from David Gowrie and Centurion Racing Team. Another little look at the inside, and I think Ted Bradbury, it says Ted Bradbury's out. Let's have a quick look to see whether he's had an incident. No, he has not. Ted Bradbury, possibly with a disconnect there, so I'm not sure what has happened. Head. Yeah, it just says he is out of the race. So I do think Ted Bradbury might have had a disconnect. This was the last incident we saw for him. Does he just leave after this? On the brakes, just rattling through the grass, bounces off the wall and decides, yeah, I think he does return to the pit lane after that, and that is going to bring an end to his race here this evening. Igor Bembic for Balpio Racing. Currently sat there in 16th place overall. Simon Chester just in front in 15th. Of course, this is a battle for the podium places in the AM class. You can see the slight painted strips on the left-hand side of your screen, and it shows where the drivers are in relation to their class. Just trying to figure out how I can get it so it truly does show where the drivers are in their class. And we'll see whether we can get that up as we go along. But for the moment, it's looking like we are seeing the grid just almost simmer away. There's no real major reason for the drivers to really start pushing. They can just sit there and enjoy what is the Sebring circuit. And it seems like that is the case. I think that might have done it. So there you go. You can see that Mark Fletcher is leading the way overall for Altitude Esports, 1.8 seconds here for Tom Dadswell. And on the left-hand side, you can see where the numbers restart again. That is David Gowrie, sat there in first place for Centurion Racing Team. We will put that back to the overall standings, because a lot of these drivers, they don't really tend to fit into their class. They have gone against the grain and they have picked up all the pace required. Igor Bembic now looking to get past Simon Chester, jumps out to the left-hand side for us, of course the right-hand side for him. He is on the inside, does tighten the corner up, but of course that then means Simon Chester can carry the superior momentum. But we've seen, if you can't get that inside, all you need to do is brake that a little bit later in towards turn one and maybe get that position. We've got a few drivers in the pit lane: Stephen Mello, Stein Van Island, Graham Bardsley and Russell Barnes in the pit lane. Now Igor Bembic had a little look on the brakes and decides maybe that time was the way through. Rob Sutherland in the chat saying, want to buy a Ferrari bonnet. I'm sure a lot of the drivers could make good use of a Ferrari bonnet. Who was it? Well, I think it was the VSR entry. Whether he's been into the pit lane. Yeah, Stephen Mello, he's leaving the pit lane now with that bonnet back on his car. So Rob Sutherland making quick work and making sure he can get that bonnet sold to the Portuguese driver. Back out in 17th place is the number 17 machine. Closest cars on circuit is this little Ferrari pairing. Luke Davis is in front. He could use one of your bonnets, Rob Sutherland, if you've still got a spare one. Oh, and I'm sure he could use a new set of tyres and possibly a front bumper after that. Round he goes into the barrier. He was battling hard there, and just a slight mistake, and that has put him into the pit lane, so he will have to tow. And then of course the damages to make up, and this is going to be a great photo opportunity for Lunatic Racing. Drew Becker and David Bush, both in their Lamborghinis, both with beautiful liveries on there with the white, and then you've got the contrasting chrome colour, whether it be the pink on David Bush or the red on Drew Becker. And of course the Lunatic Racing cars do look incredibly good with those liveries. We'll go back to Nicholas Matthews, and he has the green chrome on his car. And then we can go back to Colin McKenzie, and he has the blue chrome on his Ferrari. So really nice liveries on those Lunatic cars. And you can hear them popping and banging away in towards Tower Corner. 36 minutes and a half of the race gone. So way past the halfway point now, and this is where you will Well, this is where you can almost start to get away with putting money on who is going to finish where. Alex Crater is in the lead. Chris Tapio is in second. EJ Nixon in third. Nick McLaughlin right the way up in fourth. Of course, those top four are still yet to pit. But that lead gap has come down in theory. Mark Fletcher and Tom Dadswell still only 2 seconds apart. And now we have got past this halfway point. I do think I will go for a quick break, of course, just to get a drink. Because it is thirsty work trying to keep up with everybody out on circuit. So I will leave the cameras on most exciting. I will bring the dashboard up just to give you a little something to watch. Actually, it doesn't look quite right, so I'll leave that away. But I will go for a quick break in just a few moments' time. It'll only be for about 4 or 5 minutes. But, of course, before I go, I do want to say a massive thank you to everybody that is watching along. If you are enjoying the stream, please make sure you like and subscribe if you are not already, and click that little notification bell to make sure you know as soon as Finding Speed does go live, whether it be another one of these streams for, of course, round 3 in a few weeks' time, or some of the regular content that Russell Barnes posts on his channel. And, of course, I do want to say thank you to Aztec SimSports, one of the very first prize sponsors of the Finding Speed GT3 League. They are a fairly big name in enthusiast PC watercooling, but they are working their way into sim racing, and while doing so, I'm sure they will produce some amazing products. Make sure you head over to their website, www.aztec.com, to see all of their products available. And if you want to keep an eye on their sim racing development as it is going through its various stages, make sure you go on www.aztecsimsports.com to see everything you will need to. But I'm just going to go for a quick 5-minute break, but I will be right back with you very shortly. So I will leave you with some fancy shots of the cars going around. Don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to all of the action here at Sebring for round 2 of the Finding Speed GT3 League Season 2. Of course, we are on the American Classics calendar rotation. Last season we were on the UK Tour, where we got to see the best that the UK has to offer in the way of motorsport venues like Brands Hatch, Snetterton, Donington Park, Alton Park and of course Silverstone. And I've got to say, that was an amazing series to watch, and now to be able to commentate on Season 2, it is very much my pleasure. I am Jack Werrell with you live in the commentary box. There's only 15 minutes of the race remaining now, and the closest cars we've got on circuit are the ones we're looking at the moment. This is Patrick Gannon looking around the outside of Stephen Mello, and that position should be pretty much secured by the time he gets to the final corner, and it does look that way indeed. Up the inside goes Patrick. He has still a bit of work to do to get rid of that overlap, but look at the run that Stephen Mello has got. He really has wrung the neck out of that Ferrari just to try and keep that position. And there you go, great defending from himself, but all this battling has now brought Pete Plasto into the mix in his virtual racing compound Ferrari. Another car which looks incredibly good with that livery. The spec map, of course, really does make that livery, the matte black contrasting against the slightly more shiny, the metallic blue and white. Up the road, however, is still the Team Upstate and the Vulcan Sim Racing Academy driver still battling away. So it's the 666 versus the number 79. Trying to get past, of course, Patrick Gannon in the Audi. He's trying to almost win over the two Ferraris at this point, but he will have his work cut out for him if he wants to do so. Do want to have a little look further back at this absolute train of cars led by Igor Bembik, and it's David Bush, Graham Bardsley and Simon Chester sat at the tail end of that battle in his Scooby-Doo Lamborghini. Closest cars we've got on circuit are in fact in the middle of this train. It's David Bush in the Lunatic Racing white and pink Lamborghini. Then it's Graham Bardsley in the Team Upstate, newly livery Team Upstate, might I add, BMW in 22nd place. Up the road, however, it's getting closer and closer and closer. Stephen Mello, he's not just got one car to try and keep behind now, he does have two, because Pete Plasto is securely in this battle. And they don't want to slow each other down too much, because the Centurion Racing Team BMW of David Garry is only, what, 1.2 seconds back from these drivers. So one little mistake and it can bring him in on the mix, and it can go from what was 2 for 13th place to what is now 3, and it could end up being 4 cars all fighting for 14th place. Look at this now, this is a big move up the inside for Patrick Gannon. Does try and apex as early as possible, does avoid the wall, almost a little bit of contact between the pair of them, but they do continue on. Patrick Gannon, great stuff. Of course, he is the AM leader at the moment, and is definitely living up to that, right the way up into 13th place now. Stephen Mello sat there in 14th, 13th in class, of course. Then it's Pete Plasto for VRC, the number 31 machine, more than happily just sat and really watched that happen. Of course, that's one of the things you've got to be in GTs, is just patient, sit there and watch the cars and see what they're going to do in front of you, and then really pick your points for when you are going to make that move. And when you do so, once you're in front, make sure you can just leave them behind and disappear into the distance to the best of your ability. We are having a few connection issues by the look of it, I am sorry. I will try and fix that. I will have a quick look over to see what might be causing that. I don't really have any sort of idea. Bear with me 2 moments, I will just try and fix that for you as we speak. So sorry about that, but I do think I have resolved the issue. Slightly choppy frames for a short while, but they do seem to have mitigated themselves very nicely. So once again, please do accept my extended apologies for that. But the lead battle, it's getting closer, and by quite a lot. Both the Altitude Esports cars, the number 11 and the number 38, are somewhat nose to tail, still 6 tenths separating them. So it's Mark Fletcher leading the way, has done since the start. Stephen Mello and Patrick Gannon have traded places once again. Stephen Mello right the way up the inside, much later on the brakes. Now Patrick Gannon left incredibly vulnerable to Pete Plasto. Pete is a very quick driver. He's been getting quicker in these GT3s. You've seen him in the Sunday GT Masters, streamed on SimRacers World TV. He has been incredibly quick there, along with his teammate. But up at the front is still Mark Fletcher leading the way. Tom Dadswell getting closer and closer in that draft range, and of course while these are teammates, they have got 10 seconds to play with. So if they want to have a bit of a battle in the final 10 minutes, they can do so, and not really have to risk any sort of incident. Now heading in towards turn 1 once again. Not too many dramas really, it's very sedate. Not 100% sure what I was expecting, to be honest, because of course these are teammates. So they aren't going to be going hammer and tong trying to chase each other. I'll keep half an eye on that battle just to see if anything does evolve from here. But Stephen Mello is, like I say, back in front of Patrick Gannon. Pete Plasto tried to do the same. And you can see all the drivers following Mello there, seeing whether they can pick up any sort of scraps from the draft. Russell Barnes has worked his way up into 7th place, 31 places gained up the road. Look at that, that's Patrick Gannon and Stephen Mello swapping places once again. So Patrick Gannon back in front, and Steve Mello can't really do much about that. Pete Plasto almost runs onto the gravel, runs very wide indeed, trying to get past, almost gets run out of road as well there by Steven. And Steve, he's one of the drivers where you might get past him, but he won't give up. He will just chase you and chase you and chase you. And I think there we've seen Steve maybe do the opposite of what I've just said, maybe slightly hooked up on his rearview mirrors, and he's lost almost a second to Patrick now, just trying to fend off the attentions of Pete behind. Up the road to another VRC car. This time the roles have been reversed. It's Nick McLaughlin, the Canadian, sat there in 9th place under pressure from Braden Coates in the Luxim 24 Esports McLaren. And we'll see what Braden can do in the way of getting back past. Of course, Braden, he had a good start to the race, but couldn't really do much from there. We've had an incident for John Dinkle. Let's see what happened here. Very slow out of the final corner, or the penultimate corner I should say, and just parked the car on the side of the road. We've also had an incident for Aris Papadopoulos. Whoa, that might be why. There goes John Dinkle into the side of Aris Papadopoulos, completely blindsided, and nothing much either driver can really do at that point. Scott Rister and Graham Barty have also had an incident. Let's have another look to see what's happened there. Oh, and I think for me that looked like Graham Barty just hugged Scott Rister to the wall, and of course Scott was stuck between a rock and a hard place at that point, couldn't really go anywhere. But both of them continue on without too much of an issue. Back to this battle, however. Actually, I do think we have seen, who have we had retire so far? Just have a look over. I know we've had Todd Bosworth, Ted Bradbury and John Dinkle retire. I think Kansas Gentry is still continuing on, he is indeed. But this battle is getting closer and closer and closer again. Look at that, Pete Plasto doing everything he can to try and stay in front. There's a bit of contact there. Pete couldn't quite get the car turned in, and I think that was Steve just washing out wide. And now look what's happened. I said it would. David Gowrie now in on this battle. And if they were slowing each other down too much, I said he'd be there, and lo and behold, there he is. The lead battle staying very equidistantly spread. And another big hit there for Pete. Just gets rear-ended by David. I'm sure Pete will be quite disheartened by that. All the work he's put in the final sort of half an hour to keep up with Steve has all come undone in the space of a couple of corners. We'll see what he can do, however, in making inroads back up to Steve. A little further back, we've got Scott Rister and Richard Jones. Scott in the Mercedes, Richard in the Ferrari. As it stands so far, Scott really should be higher up than this. He's lost 11 places from where he started. He finished second at round 1, so not the best round for him. Of course, he does have a drop round. You are allowed a drop round in this series. It can't be the last round, but you are allowed one drop round, and I'm sure Scott will do his best to make sure that this is that drop round. And if you're not 100% clued up on what a drop round is, it just means that from all the points you've scored throughout the season, they will the race admins and the league organisers will take that lowest scoring round. For example, if you won every race but bar one, and one of them you finished second, you would take that second place away. So it would not exist. Like, you wouldn't gain any points from that, but then it would be applied to everybody else. So their lowest scoring round would be deleted, and they would only keep those highest scoring rounds. So it can really throw a spanner in the works of the championship towards the latter end of the series. It's getting closer up at the top. This is Scott Kimbrough, hot on the heels of Chris Tapio. And Chris is trying to chase down Alex Crater, so this is almost, emphasis on almost, a battle for the final spot on the podium. They really are starting to close up now. We'll see what they are able to do, given the next, 4 minutes of the race. These guys are the closest cars. Not the best run through the penultimate corner, I should say, for Chris Tapio. Scott Kimbrough has all of that draft assistance, jumps out to his right-hand side. That will become the inside for Sunset. And we know this tends to work if you can get that inside apex, bounce your way over the curbs, get on the throttle as early as possible. There's a chance you will be in front come turn 1. And it seems like he's almost there, half a car length in front at the moment. Chris Tapio does pull back though. He's not going to give him that position easily. And there you go. Chris Tapio does remain in front. Scott Kimbrough left with all the work to do once again. Closest cars on circuit have now been back down to this battle. You can see Richard Jones and Scott Rister both battling away. And this is for 18th place, respectively. Now the Mercedes can really start to stretch its legs. Very quick in a straight line is that Mercedes. It's boasting, what, 500 horsepower from a 3.8 litre, 500 horsepower from just a naturally aspirated V8, 443 pound-foot of torque. So a massive torque figure from that car. It sounds amazing as it goes tearing across the line. Up to the front now, that lead gap, it has gone up massively, 1.7 seconds adrift from Mark Fletcher is Tom Dadswell now. And with 2 minutes of the race remaining, we are going to see the white flag this time by. So Mark Fletcher, all he needs to do is keep that car in a straight line and keep it on the road, more importantly. And if he does so, we will see him take the flag from the front. That is all you need to do in this series, and it seems like it's going to work for himself. There is Scott Kimbrough trying to once again mount an attack on Chris Tapio. Going on to the final lap this time by. You can see the flag banner waving the white flag frantically. Here is Russell Barnes looking to pick up another position. This will promote him up into 6th place. Of course, starting from the very last spot on the grid. It has been an incredible drive from himself, right the way from the back to the front of the order. Let's see what he can do. Round the outside he looks. Round the outside he stays for a fair while. Then looks to the inside, but looks like Stephen Brumfield has got that position covered. Rattling over the curbs go the pair of them. And the closest cars we've got on circuit, well, it's between David Bush and Richard Jones, who it looks like we are going to see the change of position now. David Bush, the Lunatic Racing Lamborghini, almost contact there with the privateer entry of Richard Jones, and that somewhat scares Richard into submission. Onto the start-finish straight we go, and the pair of them fall differently apart. Was that contact between the pair of them? Both of them rattling over the curbs, I think, possibly just in like just trying to get the throttle down as eagerly as possible. Here is Russell Barnes looking around the outside. That will then become the inside, using all the curb. And there you go, Russell Barnes up into 6th place now. That number 35 machine has had a great night of racing. Carries the momentum through Tower Corner, and there you go, position made and up into the top 6. But around the final corner we come, everybody. Round 2 of the Finding Speed GT3 League is won by Mark Fletcher. That's back-to-back wins for himself and Altitude Esports. Tom Dadswell crosses the line in 2nd. Alex Crater through the final corner we go in the flamethrower of a McLaren. Great performance from himself and Luxim 24 Esports. The number 91 machine crosses the line to round out your podium. Chris Tapio hounded to the line by Scott Kimbrough. Great stuff from Chris. Great to see himself and, of course, RPM Racing, I should say, finish in 4th place. Stephen Brumfield did manage to get Russell Barnes back. I think Russell went off the track and that cost him that place. But Stephen finishes in 6th. Russell Barnes finishes in 7th, Mr. Finding Speed. EJ Nixon in 8th. Braden Coates crosses the line in 9th. And Nick McLaughlin for VRC rounds out your top 10. And we will end up with some more confirmed results for you in a few moments' time. Let me know in chat what your favourite moment of that race was, because there was definitely a lot to look at. Stephen Mello being hounded to the line by Pete Plasto. Pete does have a little look to the inside, but that time through doesn't get that position made, and everybody else is fairly sedate towards the line. Here is Graham Bardsley. A little further back down the order through the penultimate corner he comes, and then on towards Sunset, down Orcaranza, through the final corner we go, trying to catch onto the coattails of Andreas Helgerud, but no such luck will go his way. I do want to see what happened between Russell Barnes and Stephen Brumfield. So Stephen tried to get in front, Russell round the outside. Oh yeah, Stephen, come on mate, he just elbowed him wide. I'm not 100% sure what Stephen was thinking there. We were right on board. You can see, yeah, it's a bit of a wobble, to be fair. There was a bit of a wobble from Stephen, but it looked like he just expected Russell to not be there, to disappear. And sadly, that is not the case. That is not how it works. Drew Becker crosses the line in 20th in class, 25th overall, Brett Crouch in 26th, and now we do have the results available to us. So up on screen now are the results from round 2 here at Sebring. It's Mark Fletcher crossing the line, like I said, to take top honours once again for Altitude Esports. Tom Dadswell follows suit. The same with Alex Crater in 3rd, Chris Tapio in 4th, Scott Kimbrough 5th, Stephen Brumfield in 6th, Russell Barnes 7th after that battle with Stephen on the final lap. EJ Nixon in 8th, Braden Coates 9th, Nick McLaughlin rounds out your top 10. Then it was Benjamin Warburton, Stein Van Nalen, Patrick Gannon, Steve Mello, Pete Plasto, David Gowrie, Juan Manuel Calea and Scott Rister in 18th place. Not quite the result I was expecting from Scott. Then it's David Bush, Richard Jones, Simon Chester, Alex Peck, Igor Bembic, Graham Bardsley, Drew Becker, Brett Crouch, Timothy Bry and Luke Davis. Then it's Nicholas Matthews, Andreas Helgerud, Dan Ocaranza, Dominic Linden, Colin McKenzie, Kansas Gentry, I should say, wrong way around, Aris Papadopoulos, John Dinkle, Ted Bradbury and Todd Bosworth rounds out your grid. Who is that on the start finish line? It's one of the Mercedes, and there he is, Alex Crater, evidently really happy with his result here this evening. But I'm sure we will end up with some interviews for you. Let's have a quick look in the Discord to see if we have anybody. Nobody is sat in the interview waiting room as of yet, but I'm sure we will end up with a few very, very shortly. We will get some nice cinematic shots of the drivers out on circuit. We will have a look at our leaders just as they're working their way around throughout the race. We do have a few drivers in, so you know what, we're going to have to bring him in. I think I might have brought him in mid-conversation. Alex Crater, welcome to the no worries, welcome to the commentary box, and for the first time this season, and that result, it couldn't have really gone much better. Altitude Esports, they disappeared into the distance. Of course, having Mark Fletcher having his teammate Tom Dadswell, that was a massive help. Do you think having Braden Coates with you might have helped you in your podium efforts this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, during practice, we were just sort of bouncing off each other and helping each other out, trying to make each other faster. So, 100%, he definitely helped me out there.
Well, I've got to say, it was great to see the McLaren up there, and of course, the McLaren, it's still somewhat of a popular car, but it is fading away a little bit like the Ford GT. It's not as popular as it used to be. What made you choose the McLaren over all the more modern machinery? Let's go with.
To be completely honest, it's the GT3 that I get on most with. I mean, I've tried most of the other ones, especially like the mid-engine ones, and it just seems to be not. I wouldn't say the most forgiving, but just the one that sort of I'm able to adapt to my driving style the best, and hopefully these results show that. So I don't think I'd be in the same position if I were in any other car.
Well, I've got to say, you definitely piloted that car around Sebring very nicely, even including the bumps as well. It's a very bumpy circuit here at Sebring, and you did negotiate those very nicely. Obviously, coming home in third place. And what do you think you're going to have to bring to the table to try and keep on top of those Altitude Esports guys? Do you think you're going to have to bring a teammate with you, or is it just a little bit more practice, or where do you think it is that they've got that edge at the moment?
As for the edge, I don't know. They're both very, very quick drivers, and they're both very clean as well. I suppose the best bet for me would be hoping that they take each other out in fighting each other. But that's wishful thinking. But yeah, they're in another league. I'm happy with third. I think that's the best I'm going to get.
Well, I'm sure at some point throughout the season you will end up doing better, because of course, even though at Watkins Glen we saw Tom Dadswell fall away, and sadly, obviously, you couldn't really make that many inroads on chasing him down. But to be fair, if that's happened once, it can always happen again. So I'm sure there will be more results on the way for yourself and Luxim24 Esports. As per the usual, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go, or any final comments?
Let's give a big shout out to my family who are probably watching. They've been very supportive in sort of allowing me the freedom to do sort of my hobby, which I love. Big shout out to Braden, who was very helpful. Elliot, who was very helpful setting up the car. He was our sort of setup manager for Luxim. I think he was in the last season of this, so big shout out to him, who helped me set up the McLaren perfectly. And just a big thanks to everyone watching and making this series as popular as it is, and a big thanks to Russ for hosting it, and you for taking your time out of your Saturday evening to commentate. So I appreciate that.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for the kind comments, and yeah, thank you for joining us in the commentary box once again. A big well done on P3 tonight, and we'll see you at round 3.
Definitely. Cheers, Jack. Thank you.
See ya. That was Alex Crater in the commentary box. We've got to bring him in, and as per the usual, we bring him in mid-conversation. That's just how it tends to work. No worries at all, Mark. What's it going to take? You've won back-to-back rounds now, and the first round you didn't have the attention of your teammate, and you won. This time you had the attention of your teammate, and you won. Where do we just sort of draw the line and go, right, no more, stop?
I think it's generally, as most of the guys in my chat know, it's no secret that we've invested in some driver training for myself and Tom for World GT that we get off Vila Racing.
Yeah.
So you can imagine who helps us build sets and does driver coaching with us. So we can hold our own, but yeah, it's massive thanks to those guys over there, because our cars are really good. But yeah, Tom's coming along nicely. I picked him up at the start of the year when he out-qualified me at Donington Park in another series. I was like, right, you need to race for me. But yeah, he's driving well, to be fair. And yeah, Alex in that one as well. He was fast in practice. You know, I get along well with the Luxims guys as well. But yeah, it's a brilliant little series.
Yeah, I've got to say, it is great to watch. And of course, the Audi, it's one of the preferred cars in some of the higher up series. Not saying it's a more difficult car to drive. It just seems that the more prestigious series seem to host a fair few more Audis. What is it for you that makes that Audi stand out? And of course, why do you drive it?
It's people say it's difficult to drive, but I find it, if you get the right set, obviously you're always going to have that Audi snap. You know, you can't give it a lot of steering input, and yeah, it's just, I find it quite an easy car to drive. But I will not be driving it at the Nordschleife next weekend though, because it's not amazing over curbs. So I think we're going BMW next week for that.
Yeah, I know I'm running Mercedes. I did do a bit of testing in Audi, and got very annoyed very quickly through the green hell. But yeah, best of luck in your ventures for that, of course. But 2 weeks' time we go to Daytona, of course, on the road course there. A circuit you like, a circuit you hate. Talk us through what you're thinking for that one.
Yeah, again, another decent track. There's a lot of people that are very fast around Daytona, because obviously we're not far off what was the Daytona 24. But yeah, big draft fest, hopefully. Keep everyone all in contention, really. But yeah, hopefully we're going to start knocking on the door of the team championship. I know Ted had a bit of unfortunate luck this evening, dropping his internet connection, and Scott. But yeah, hopefully we're going to keep going and keep putting on a show for you guys, which will be good.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing that, and of course, once again, a massive well done on another win. And if you do end up speaking to Tom after this, make sure you pass on my congratulations to him as well. But before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
I will get him in for an interview.
Yeah.
I will get. He refuses to do interviews at the minute, but when he starts winning, I'm going to get him in for an interview. So yeah, what's this space for that? Yeah, just our two main sponsors really. SimRacing Studio, who make our win simulators, and Sim Stickers, who are the main sponsor for the team. And good one for them, because that's 1, 2, 3 on the podium for them.
It is indeed, and once again, another massive well done to yourself and Tom this evening, and of course Altitude Esports as well. But thank you for joining us in the commentary box. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Daytona.
Cheers, thanks, Jack.
No worries, bye. That was Mark Fletcher, and there's only one more person we can bring him, and we can't bring him in mid-conversation because there was no one to talk to in the interview waiting room. But Russell, welcome to the commentary box. Wow.
Yeah, that was a fun race. Crazy start, but a fun race. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was eventful, of course, having to carve your way through a raft of different cars, a raft of different drivers to gain 31 places and finishing 7th, almost 6th. Talk us through that.
Oh man, well, I mean, it was just I had a little bit of luck, but I had some pretty tasty overtakes I was quite pleased with early on. But that final battle with Steve Brumfield was quite a thing. I caught him up over about the course of about 6 or 7 laps, and basically I got on his tail right on the as we went to white flag, and yeah, that was a hectic battle. But I'll have a look at that afterwards, I think.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
we had a little look at the time, and of course, there's it looked like Stephen had a bit of a wobble. But then somewhat left you, well, there's the grass on your bike, and almost elbowed you out. There's two obviously completely different ways of looking at it, but at the end of the day, you both finished, and that is the main thing. And of course, carving your way through the field, if you qualify the car further up and you sit quite happy in a position, and then you push forward, of course, you've got that different mindset of, I'm in this position, the last thing I want to do is lose places. You start at the back, so you can only go forward. What is the mindset going into a race?
It really is just knuckle down and hold on. I mean, I think for the first kind of 5-10 minutes, it's a case of just taking that slightly early break, letting the car kind of creep forward with slightly less braking, so we can keep up. There's nothing worse than sort of braking at your usual braking point and piling in. I think it's just not the right thing to do. But it's just, it's just grit your teeth and get on with it. It's good fun, actually. I quite enjoy it. But yeah, what else can you do?
I mean, I've got to say, you definitely do it very well, of course, from the back of the grid. And once again, another well done on a great result here this evening. 2 weeks' time, we go to Daytona. Talk us through that one. So, a circuit you love, a circuit you loathe. What's your outlook on that one?
Well, I mean, Daytona is a really iconic American track, and I think I would have been remiss not to put it on the schedule. I'll be honest, it's not my favourite track, but obviously home to the 24-hour, so it's a real kind of staple in iRacing. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it, but it's going to be that turn one's going to be pretty tasty in a couple of weeks' time. I can tell you that much.
I've got to say, yeah, it's one of the things that it tends to be what happens. It's turn one. Of course, you can win the race on turn one. That's how it works, obviously.
Absolutely, on the first lap as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you out of your own commentary box here this evening?
Yeah, thanks, man. Obviously, usual thanks to you and all the drivers for taking part. We're all having a whale of a time, and it's really good fun. But a special thanks goes out to Acertech SimSports. They are a new prize sponsor for the series. They're giving away hundreds of pounds worth of high-end enthusiast level water cooling equipment and merchandise for prizes this season. That they're actually entering the world of sim racing. So head over to acertechsimsports.com to learn more about this exciting development. There's a link down in the description. And that's about the size of it. That's my little plug.
Well, great stuff. Thank you very much for the kind comments. And yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Daytona.
Nice one. Cheers, Jack.
So yeah, that was Russell Barnes there, Mr. Finding Speed. And I'm sorry, Acertech SimSport. I've been mentioning your name wrong throughout the evening, but do make sure, yeah, you do head over to the Acertech websites. Of course, you've got www.acertech.com and then www. I've just got to get it up. www.acertech.simsports.com. So the SimSports link is the one to view their SimSports development and going through that venture, and just the standard www.acertech.com is just to see their wide range of amazing products that they do have on offer. So do make sure you check out those links, and of course a massive thank you to themselves for sponsoring the series. And sadly, it's that point in the night already. We do have to say goodbye. So after what was a rather eventful round 2 of the series, 2 weeks' time, we go to Daytona. Same time, same place. Do make sure you say hello as we open another page of the championship, and we'll see how that one goes. But thank you very much for watching along. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed the racing this evening. I've been Jack Werrell. This has been the Finding Speed GT3 series, of course, Season 2 as well. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Daytona. Bye-bye.